Hi, welcome to another video tutorial for Photoshop. In today's session, we're going to be showing you how to do a photo montage using grungy urban imagery. So straight away, we're going to go down, open up Photoshop. We're going to create a new document, File, New. It can be A4, so where it says preset, we'll change that to International Paper, A4, 300 resolution. That'll do. OK that. So we've got our new document there, and I've started to download imagery to use as part of this montage. So what I'm going to do is, first of all, we're going to drag these images into Photoshop. So you should be able to get these off Moodle, but I've just basically nicked them off Google Images. It doesn't matter so much with this because we're going to make so many changes to it, then it'll become our own image. But for your projects, if you're doing the urban landscape projects, then I would like you to be taking your own photographs. It'll get you better marks. So I'm just going to drag that image onto here. I'm going to press the Command or Apple T. I'm going to press Shift and Alt to resize it. So we'll start with that one, and what I'm going to do now is use the pen tool, but you could, because it doesn't have to be so neat, we could use the magnetic lasso tool. In fact, we'll try it with that to start with. So I've just pressed Command and Plus to zoom in. I'm going to press the space bar to move around. So I'm going to use the magnetic lasso tool. I'm going to work my way up to the corner, click, 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 and then move it across, click, click. This is not very good if you want neat, clean lines. Don't use the magnetic lasso tool. Only use it for something that you don't mind it not picking up all of the detail, because we're going to do so much kind of messing with this. I want it to look grungy and urban. It doesn't matter if some of the edges are a little bit off. So you can see here I'm going to need to do some tidying up, I think. So work my way around the edge of the building. Oops, press Shift so we can continue with that selection. All the way down to there. We'll move across. You kind of have to wait for it to catch up a little bit with the magnetic lasso tool, but it is quicker, I suppose, than going around with a pen tool. Go up the building to there, around. So I'm adding clicks as well. You can try and just get it to follow your path as you go, but it's not sure what to do there. So in between the buildings we're going to have to tidy up, I think. So up to there, to there. Oh, so now we've got a problem because it's made this selection here, which is a pain in the bum. Which is why I use the pen tool, because it's harder to learn at the beginning, but it does give you more control, and it stops that sort of annoyingness. So I'll come across there, up to there, and I can redo the path there. Right, so that's one way of doing it. Don't like it, so I'm going to deselect that. This time I'm going to use a pen tool, and it'll probably just be just as quick for me because I'm used to using it. So in there, in there, in there. And because they're square sort of shaped buildings, it's not really very difficult to do. I'm going to show you how to get rid of all the white bits anyway, so we just need to cut out the buildings. We'll use some of this background as well, because it's going to add to our image. I'm going to do a basic montage of buildings and urban elements. If they excuse my heavy breathing, I've got a bit of a cold, so it's heavier than normal, so I sound like Darth Vader. Just move down to there, grab a bit of that, have a bit of this ground in there. So like that. So I've made a full path, closed path. We're going to the paths palette. We're going to make selection just here. So now it's selected. Back onto the layers. Now we need to inverse the selection because at the moment, if you look at the selection, it's selected the buildings. If I press backspace, it'll delete the buildings. So, oops, I'll do that. So we need to inverse the selection so that it's this area here that's deleted and not the buildings. So to inverse the selection, you press Command or Apple, Shift and I. So now you can see the feather is going around the whole edge. So now when I press backspace, it deletes the background. Apple or Command to deselect, zoom out. So we've got a building. Now I'm going to do this in two halves and flip it. So we can Apple T, press Shift and Alt. So that can be the start of it. Okay, we're going to change all this to black and white in a minute. In fact, we'll do that now. So what we're going to do, the whole image is going to be in colour at the end, but the buildings we're going to keep black and white to make it really graphic-y. So we're going to go to Image, Adjust, Desaturate, which is just there, and that takes out all the colour. Then we're going to go to Image, Adjust, Brightness, Contrast, use Legacy, and turn the contrast up. So the brightness up a little bit, and the contrast up a bit more. And then you get this, turn the brightness down, so you get a nice contrasty graphic image. That looks quite good like that. So we've got one bit done. So we're going to add some more buildings. So I'm going to speed up the process, but basically I'm going to use the same thing, I'm going to cut out and drop on. And then I'm going to show you how we're going to layer these things up. So I'll speed this section of the video up. Okay, so once you've got all of your buildings cut out, so I've got all of these different layers here with I've got all of these layers here with buildings on, like this. We're going to now rearrange them. So I'm going to just try and change the layer order and stuff, and try and arrange them in some sort of way that creates some interest. So I'm going to resize some of them. I'm going to select the different layers, resize them, see if we can make them fit nicely, and then once we've done that, I'm going to flip them. I'm going to copy it and flip it. So if we I'm just going to put this auto select on so that I can move each element around. Select all the layers, make it smaller. I think maybe this layer here could be bigger, so let's make that big. Like that, and we can bring this one down a little bit maybe to there. Make that a bit bigger as well. Like that, so we'll make more smaller again to fit it on. So I quite like that so far. If I move that across a touch, like there. So what I'm doing now is changing the blending option. So if you notice on this layer here, it's on normal. If I change this to multiply, it gets rid of the white bits. I'm going to show you this again in a little bit anyway. So it kind of overlays and overlaps each other, which looks quite nice. So from there now, I'm happy with that selection. So I'm going to select the layers that have got the buildings on, so the top layer, and then I'm going to press Shift and select the bottom layer. And I'm going to press Command and E, or you can go into here and go to Merge Layers there, which is Command or Apple E. So now it's all one layer. You can see it. It's all on its own layer. And what we can do now is make that slightly smaller, like this, and then we can duplicate the layer by taking the layer and dragging it onto this icon here, which is next to the trash can, which is the duplicate layer or add new layer button. And we're going to go, so now we've got two. If I move it to the side slightly, you can see I've got two of them now. Just undo that. So now I'm going to go to Edit, Transform, Flip Horizontal, and now we've got two. Move that across so it fits. So now we've got two of them. We've got a little cityscape happening. Looks quite nice. Nudge that down a little bit so it's in line, like that. Okay, so now we've got a montage of the city. I'm going to add a few extra elements now. I've cut out a skater. I'm going to change the brightness and contrast of it. So change the contrast of him a little bit. Oh, wrong layer. Make sure you're on the right layer. Let's just name that skater so we don't get mixed up. So image, adjust, brightness, contrast, use legacy, turn the brightness up a bit, so like some white bits, turn the contrast up, turn the brightness down again. So we've got a nice contrasted skater. Move them across here somewhere. Then I'm going to add some other elements. So I've got some spray paint and things that I've done before, and I've got some different textures. Don't save that. So first of all, in my textures folder, I'm going to add a paint scan to it. So I've got this black paint scan. I'm just going to drag that onto this layer here. Oops. Okay. And then I'm going to change the blending option for this to get rid of the white. So I'm going to change it to multiply, and that will get rid of the white bits. So now you can see through it. And then I'm going to resize it, pressing Command T and resize so it overlaps like that. Then I'm going to go to Image, Adjust, Brightness, Contrast, Use Legacy, turn the contrast up so it's nice and dark like that. Okay, that I'm going to bring that underneath the other layers. So now we've got some kind of urban grunge stuff going off. You know what I'm saying? Right. So we can close that one. And I've got some spray paints. So I'm going to open up my spray paints as well. So I've got a couple of spray paint things. Same again. I'm going to drag that on. I'm going to resize it. I'm just going to take my rubber, get a nice soft brush, make it bigger. I'm just going to take the edge off that because you can see that there's like a line where the scan happened. Just take that up. And again, we want it to go see-through, so you can only see the dark bit. So we can change that to multiply again. Move that into position like that. Image, adjust, brightness, contrast, turn the contrast up again. Use legacy, turn the contrast up. So now we've got some spray paint. We'll probably make that bigger. Bring that off the edge like that. So we've got some spray there, and then I'm going to open up the other spray paint, which is this one. Like that. Okay, and then what we can do is I'm going to get some things like graffiti and add some graffiti onto it. So I'll pause the video while I get some graffiti off the internet. Here, it's got a 32 tolerance, which means it'll pick up most of the black. I'm going to click in, click there, click the shift. I'm pressing shift while I click so I can pick up more selection. I'm going to turn that off. So now we've got the shape, and I'm going to fill that shape. I'm going to create a new layer. I'm going to make this white, and now I'm going to fill it. You can use the bucket tool, which is under here, or the shortcut key is Alt and Backspace, and it fills with white. And I'm going to deselect by pressing Apple D. Okay. Okay, so I'm happy with all of the graffiti stuff. So I'm going to merge all of those layers now. So I'm going to go to the bottom. I'm going to shift and select the top layer. I'm going to keep the background unselected because I want it separate from that. And I'm going to press Command E. So now all of that is one layer, but you can see what happens. All the white comes back in. So you just change that again to multiply, and now we've got a see-through image. Looks like it's been sprayed onto concrete. So there you go. Over to you.